What's going on, YouTube? Zach is back, bringing you another Pokemon Unite replay commentary. This time featuring, yet again, Suicune, a very fun Pokemon. With 3 attackers, a little less fun, but you know, that's sort of the meta that we get with the Kyogre map. And I wanted to talk about that for a minute and why that is. If you've noticed that there's a lot of attackers in the Kyogre map, you're not the only one that's noticed. And the reason that is because all the bushes make it so that there's more places to hide, and therefore more places to attack out of bushes from, which is what attackers love doing in the mid game and late game. So it shows you why the attacker epidemic happens every time we return to this map. And sometimes when we don't, right? Sometimes you just get a lot of attackers anyway, but luckily we have a good lane duo with Ninetales. We have a nice frozen lane, so that will go very well. Anyway, if you do like this video, leave a like, let me know in the comments what you think. Subscribe for more stuff like this, and yeah, without further ado, we'll get into it. Like I said, we have a frozen duo, not that Umbreon understands that, but we'll be laning with the Ninetales. This means that early on, we're going to be looking to just get levels until he gets 4, but we do have a good ice combo, so if we can pick up KOs early on, there will be opportunities for it, and we shouldn't miss out. Here I use the push of Water Pulse to get it into the Avalanche for the last hit. But against Snorlax, there's just nothing I can do against Tackle. Might have been better to consider playing with my teammate there, but I don't want Snorlax to get 3 last hits, and we can pincer him like this to do a lot of damage. The mid-gank early does mean that they will be able to get my teammate there, but we're easily able to clean up him afterwards since he came early. Coming early as a mid laner means that you won't have level 5 and you'll have to get it from something, which is usually not ideal, but it does mean that you offer that gank a little earlier if it matters. Here it didn't quite matter the way they wanted it to, but it could have, and it sometimes does. Here, once again, I'm going Surf. I know most players prefer Whirlpool, and it does offer more control than Surf does, but the Surf has a really low cooldown, which gives you a higher DPS, and I like the area of effect it offers being such a low cooldown. It means that you can pressure more areas with water more often, and that water effect translates into an ice effect with your freeze abilities, giving your opponents a big AoE they don't want to walk into. For instance, I can just throw it out like that, and they don't want to go in the bush, they don't want to walk up to contest these Natus. Luckily here I was able to get all those before the Snorlax got in, and he's still going to continue to attempt to stack, but won't get any stacks off this time. Suicide stacking is really hard against our duo. We have really good defense with both of us being able to freeze, and the freezes stacking together very nicely. Here I decided to wait a little bit because there's only one person here hitting it, but once he decides that he's not hitting it anymore, I decided that I'll start poking it a little more. Suicune's damage on his own is decent. It's not the best for objectives. It's usually best for AoE and team fights. But if it's this low, I don't want to let the enemy team get it. With that, I'll be picking Icy Wind, returning to top. Again, Icy Wind isn't typically the preferred move among Suicune players. I think most Suicune players prefer to go Ice Beam. Again, Ice Beam does give you more control, and that the AoE of Ice Beam is bigger than the AoE of Icy Wind, but Icy Wind does have much higher burst damage, and it gives you a faster freeze on your Surf and Whirlpool, which, if that matters to you, then there you go. Ninetales and I are easily able to rip through this on our own, after which I decide to head bottom straight away. To go back to the Icy Wind comments I was making a second ago, the reason I prefer it is because I do want that faster freeze, and I do want that burst damage to really nail people with heavy hits they're not expecting. Also, it works great on teams like this with Umbreon, who's going to be using Mean Look on people. And even though the Sableye is able to get the pad there, we're able to kill a lot of people in the process, so it's worth it for us. Although the Greninja does come and get a double nicely in the process. Ninetales stayed top and managed to score his 40 and get the goal pad a little lower, but I still think it would have been more worth for us to play as a team instead. Losing our pad is not really worth it there. Plus the bottom objective. We could have knocked out both their pad and the bottom objective. But instead we scored top, which, you know, is better than nothing, I guess. Oh yeah, with mean look, that guy's totally toast. That's another reason I like Suicune on lineups like this, is with all our attackers, if I freeze anybody and my teammates are nearby, odds are good they can add a lot of damage. You can see there the burst of Icy Wind really coming in clutch to chip down that Empoleon. Alright, we get a very poor overcap bottom, but that's not really relevant at this stage. What's more relevant is just getting the pad knocked out. And then moving top, as we want to do. Suicune at this point, I've assumed, has gotten most of his stacks done, so I'm not really worried about him and what he's doing. I'll poke him some while he's nearby, but I'm not going to go chasing him onto his side of the map. Yep, once again, Memelook is doing great work there to keep people down. They knock out our pad, bottom, or top, but in the process, we're easily able to get this Regieleki in the meantime. You have to remember, they're a Sableye team, so the odds of them being able to knock out objectives randomly, or knock out goal pads at randomly at any point in the game is way higher than a normal team's average is. So we really shouldn't be worrying about that too much and just playing as a team. Basically forcing them to play as 5, or suffer against our 5 because they're down 1 with Sableye on their team. I think I mentioned this in my stream several times in other videos, but Sableye is not a very good team fighter. He generally prefers to pick off isolated targets or help with ganks. He doesn't want to fight in team fights. He doesn't have very much defense, so he can't stand his ground very well. Thankfully, I was able to get my points off there. Gets me to a nice level 12. Looking very strong at this stage of the game. And with these birds having just spawned here, I decided to fall back and farm these before going home. It's very important to get this XP on your team if you can. These timings are something that more people need to look at, I think. It's really important to get those timings for consistent XP. Unfortunately, we were playing in their jungle on some people, and that meant that we end up feeding away the Dragapult, but that's not really a huge deal if it's the only one. Here I really just want to get bottom, and as I'm working my way there, I'm freezing people, I'm harassing them, and making sure they can't really walk up the same way I can. Ooh, I managed to blind fire the Sableye there, that's pretty nice. You see the downside of Surf really come out against Pokemon like Greninja who are very mobile, because then you want the control of Whirlpool to be able to actually hone in on someone even after they've moved out of the initial hit of the move. Surf comes out a little slow at first, even though it is a high uptime AoE move and high damage uptime move because of the low cooldown. It's still going to come out slower than Whirlpool in terms of being able to actually stun in a specific area that you want. So do keep that in mind if you are going to go this moveset. It's part of why the on-demand freeze of Icy Wind can really help. That and the burst damage it offers. I tend to think that these two moves work better than Whirlpool and Icy Wind together. But Whirlpool and Icy Wind are preferred for a reason. They're both good. Yeah, you can see here the damage really working to chip through Snorlax there. Normally he'd be a much harder time for our team to get through, but having the burst of Suicune really helps punch through him as quickly as possible. Now at this point in the game, with Lecky walking into their base and us having the lead, Sableye of course is going to score bottom, as Sableyes tend to do leading up to Kyogre, which will give them the lead ideally, or make it a close battle if nothing else. I decided to start walling the entrance of people entering the pit, going for targets that we can finish off together, like the Pikachu. Moving next to the Sableye, who Kyogre manages to save me from the ult of. Since Kyogre is low, I am turning to focus on it again once more. I don't want the Sableye or anyone else to be able to steal that. Oh, but that is what happens. A little unfortunate when the game goes this way. With Dragapult being level 15 means we have the damage we need to be able to fight through the people that are still left. I ult here for the Pikachu to get his buff as quickly as possible. And with 3 of them and the game being close, we do need to score, so I am making it a priority to push across the map with my teammates here. Again, with the buffs, we have the advantage in terms of team fighting ability. So my goal here is just to fight as a team, work together, pick them off if we can, and get some score in. Unfortunately, I was taken out there, but the Dragon Bolt is still doing work. Here you can see I'm not really happy with the Gardevoir not really playing with the team. And it looks like things are not going to end well for us here for a little while. But Ninetales manages to score a bit in their base and is still bullying his Pikachu like they've been doing the whole game. We have Umbreon to defend, thankfully. Oh, he's going to defend in time, right? Yep, and thankfully since Umbreon, he's not going to get sent home by the Sableye ult. Now it just comes down to who scored more in the enemy's team's base, because we both knocked out both sides of the map. It just boils down to, did we score more in their base, or did they score more in ours? Moment of truth here. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? And we managed to narrowly beat them out, thanks to the scoring of the Ninetales at the end. You can see how the Sableye made the right play, trying to backcap as much as possible, and stealing the Kyogre, but unfortunately it just wasn't enough. His team wasn't able to score with the buffs they got. And hopefully you saw why it was such a good Suicune game. Did a ton of damage, did a ton of KOing. And yeah, it shows why this moveset's really strong. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. If you like this content, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more stuff like this. And if you want to watch me play live, you can by following me in Twitch in the description below. Check it out. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. What was that? That's all I got for you guys today. Peace out, y'all.